1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ready or not, here I come. I turned around and scanned the room. Everyone had scattered, hiding in their usual dark, creepy corners. It was tiresome, but at least it was some form of entertainment. I knew exactly where they liked to hide. They always chose the darkest, scariest places, but I always found them. They weren't smart enough to hide better. A creaking sound came from the wardrobe. Hashem, who do we have here? A piercing scream nearly knocked me off my feet, making my hair stand on end. Dick, how many times have I asked you not to scream like that? I could go deaf. I snapped, irritated. Dick, looking guilty, crawled out of the wardrobe, his eyes shining with mischief. I fixed my hair and continued searching. The broom closet. Ah, the infamous closet. Nikki and Peter always hid there. She would spit slime and he, with his usual stone-cold expression, would just walk past me. Just as I expected, there they were. I barely dodged Nikki's slime. It's nearly impossible to get out of my dress. 3 more to go: Dion, Willie Binney, and Madame Rosa. Dion was probably hiding in the basement. I'd save him for last. Willie Binney was likely out in the backyard, so I headed there first to get some fresh air. Madame Rosa would be the last. As I approached the pile of junk, it started to move. That was Binney. He always fidgeted when he was nervous. Willie rarely had control over his body during these moments. I kicked a barrel lying nearby. Come on out, I found you. 2 heads with sulking expressions poked out, but we hid so well, they complained in unison. The pile collapsed, and Willie Binney emerged completely, sniffling as he trudged back inside, leaving trails of pus behind. Madame Rosa was the only one left, but I was sure I'd find her hanging from one of the door frames. Thankfully, they always hid in the same places. The first time was the hardest, back when I first got here. But after 1.5 years, I'd gotten used to them, even grown fond of them. But these were their rules. I had to find them all. Ah, there were Madame Rosa's spiny teeth. It was a good thing she didn't do to me what she did to the people she hunted. I'd seen her tear into flesh and suck blood with her thorny appendages. Madame Rosa, I found you. Come down. Thin tendrils detached from the doorframe, and the predatory vine slithered down with a hiss. Shaping itself into a human-like form, it crept down the stairs. Dion. You're the trickiest one, but I will find you. 2 hours later, I realized I might have lost. Dion was nowhere to be found. I'd searched every corner, every dish, every spot he'd ever hidden in or could possibly hide in. Nothing. The sun was setting, and I still hadn't found him. The others watched me curiously. Damn it, Dion, where are you? Sammy, sweetheart, it looks like you've lost. A soft, insidious voice froze me in place. The sun had set. I turned around. Dion stood there in all his glory. His delicate features shifted like liquid. His elegant hands crossed over his chest, and his fiery orange eyes blazed like 2 stars. You know, I think I've been in love with him for a long time. Dion, I don't want to. I want to stay with you. With all of you. Tears welled up in my eyes. You'll stay with us no matter what, he smirked. But it's up to you in what form. Hide. I stood there for just a second before I started running, hiding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're coming to eat you alive. Of course I stayed with them. There was nowhere to run, and they wouldn't have let me go anyway. I would have become prey. But they loved me, and I loved them. Little Sammy is now with her beloved Dion and friends. Now I can hide too, in closets, in corners, in air vents. I'm just a sweet young girl with sharp claws and needle-like teeth. And yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tonight, I'll kill to stay alive. Better hide. My name is Julie, and I work as a caregiver for elderly, and infirm people. One day I agreed to take a job for good money at the home of an old woman who wasn't all there mentally. Her relatives didn't really explain much, and when I arrived at the house, they just handed me the keys and told me where my room was. The house was huge with 2 floors, but inside it looked more like an old, rotting barn. The plaster was peeling off, cobwebs were everywhere, and old boards were meant to patch up holes gnawed by mice. The stairs creaked terribly, giving the impression that the house was uninhabited. When I stepped on the second stair, I heard a quiet sigh. I was almost sure it wasn't the old lady. Her room was 20 meters away from me. Anyway, I soon forgot about it. When I entered Hazel's room, that was the old lady's name, she initially just stared blankly at the wall and paid no attention to me. Her room didn't feel cozy at all. Bare, cold walls, an old wooden floor, a nightstand with medicine and water next to the bed, a large wooden window across from the bed, and another bigger nightstand with a TV on it. The bed itself was more like an iron cot in a mental hospital. Hazel was tied to the bed because she was not in her right mind. After Hazel fell asleep, I decided to look around a bit, and I discovered that one of the rooms was locked. I shrugged it off and went to my room, though I was dying of curiosity. My room was probably the most normal one in the house. I quickly fell asleep, not so much from fatigue as from the oppressive atmosphere. Soon after I fell asleep, I began hearing rustling coming from the locked room next door. At first, I blamed it on the mice, but then I started hearing what sounded like someone running through the house, the stairs creaking loudly. When it stopped, I decided to check on the old lady, but her door wouldn't open. I thought if it didn't open in the morning, I'd call the relatives to break it down. After I lay back in bed, I heard someone knocking from inside the strange room next door. I went into the hallway. It turned out the knocking was coming from inside that locked room. In the morning, Hazel's room was open. When I entered, she was still asleep, but there was dirt on her feet. Where did it come from? The old woman didn't respond. I went to prepare breakfast, and when I returned, Hazel was staring directly at the corner near the window. Pointing there with her finger, she said, "Leave. You've doomed me." After that, I couldn't make out what she was saying. Hazel asked me to close the curtains, and when I approached the window, she said, "It's watching you." I glanced toward the corner and heard a quiet creak. That night, the noises repeated, only this time I heard whispers, not knocking at the door. In the morning, I heard Hazel scream. I rushed into her room. She was screaming wildly, pointing at that same corner. A moment later, an old board fell from the ceiling and killed the old woman. I lost consciousness for a couple of seconds. I woke up on Hazel's bed, strapped down with belts, her lifeless body lying in that corner by the window. I started having a panic attack. I heard the door to the locked room slowly open and someone or something quietly stepping toward Hazel's room.